Dr. Bronaugh, your appointment as Deputy Secretary of Agriculture, it's historic in the sense that you're the first Black woman to serve in this position. What does it mean to you to be the first Black woman in this important role?
Well, I thank you for being here, and I appreciate that question. I have been asked that question a lot, but I always have to say what it means to me is an understanding of the responsibility that I have. So I realize that there are people who feel like they haven't been heard, or who have screamed very loudly and nothing has changed.
Correct.
And I imagine them seeing me come into this role. I'm expected to be a voice.
Right.
I'm expected to speak loudly enough for change to happen. You can't carry that responsibility lightly because it's people's lives.
Yeah.
And I recognize that going in. So, one, I'm honored because as a young girl growing up in Petersburg, Virginia, where they didn't think kids from Petersburg were going to go very far, I never imagined.
I grew up in a rural community, so I understand what that means.
Never would have imagined, in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that. So it's an honor and it's a responsibility and it's one I take very seriously.
Yeah, to whom much is given,
much is required. Absolutely.
So here at the center, a big part of our mission is helping not only Black landowners, but resolve their title issues, but to also help create a generational wealth for families and helping them to be lifted out of poverty. So tell me a little bit about what USDA is doing with the issue of heirs property, or not. I won't talk about land loss. We know about land loss, but what is USDA now doing to help Black families, people of color, marginalized communities hold on to their land and access USDA programs? I know I probably put two or three questions in one, but
yeah, and it's a great question. And so we talked about a little bit in the session earlier about equitable access and leveling the playing field.
Right.
Because the playing field has been unlevel for so long, and there's been so much loss. Loss of farms, as you heard mentioned, losses of acreage.
Right.
There have been families who, didn't understand the paperwork you needed to put in the financial planning that needed to be done to transition land to the next generation, and family dynamics.
Or the fact that people felt if they had a will drafted that they would die. Is that whole misconception about what it means to pass things on to your loved ones?
Absolutely. And so it's sometimes conversations about the assets get to be a sensitive subject, so there are a lot of hurdles. But as a result, people passed away, and the rest of the family didn't have any way to own the land.
Correct.
And USDA didn't give them access to programs because they didn't own the land. So there's continual land loss. Hundreds of thousands of acres have been lost because we have not been able to assist families and communities with how to keep that land in the family and pass it on. So we are really fortunate to have the American Rescue Plan provide funding for heirs property issues to deal with that land transfer, fractionated land, and et cetera. And we are excited that soon we will be announcing $67 million for the heirs property relending program. That money will go to lenders to help people get money to deal with the cost of getting lawyers and attorneys and many of the issues that they're challenged by that keep them from transitioning that land. And so that is just one way, that one announcement that's coming very soon that I hope will help get resources in folks' hands and they can really address those issues.
And so this is not a question, it's a statement. I want to say thank you on behalf of the Center for Heirs Property Preservation. The fact that we are one of those cooperators with the Section 106 funds from the American Rescue Act, because what those funds mean to us The center has been providing direct legal services to families for the last 17 years. And so with these funds, we'll continue to do more of what we do and to make sure we're serving additional folk, but it's also helping with providing them the technical assistance to access, as you said earlier, those programs and giving them that knowledge. Low-income folk usually don't sit around the dinner table and discuss, estate planning, or in some cases just talking about, what funds are out there, what is available for our families to do this. And I'll close on this, is that I was doing a presentation and a young lady said to me, how are we supposed to know this?
Yes.
And that is really the big question. How do we get this information out to more people so that you don't hear about acreage loss and those and the fact that they access USDA programs?
Yeah. So I just want to say two things. Thank you.
No.
Thank you for the work that you're leading, and I appreciated you mentioning being one of the cooperators who can provide the technical assistance.
Right.
People trust you and your work and the work that you all are doing.
Right.
And so when they don't want to hear from us, they're willing to open an ear to you. And so,
Or tell me what they don't like.
or to tell you what they don't like. And we,
Right.
we won't be able to get this money on the ground without you.
Yes. Well,
And I
thank you.
also want to acknowledge, because I didn't earlier, that I want to thank you for being on the Equity Commission Subcommittee for Agriculture.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
You
having
bring
me.
that expertise,
Yes.
the expertise of our focus on addressing heirs property issue, and so I want to acknowledge that and apologize for not acknowledging it in the meeting. And thank you for that
okay.
work, because we're going to need you.
I'm going to be working real hard soon.
We're going to need you to hold our feet to the fire, and I trust that I can tell that you're going to do that. I trust that you will, but also be a resource for us. So.
I will. It's a partnership, right?